Hi guys, welcome back to another thoughts video here on Our Eyes Your Eyes. I'm ready to tell you my thoughts about the first Slam Dunk, this movie that came out the 3rd of December here in Japan, and I really hope that it will come out even in your countries because, okay, before starting this video, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell, leave a like to support me, and feel free to join me for other videos like these, plus many other videos that I still have to make, so sorry for that, but they are coming, so just stay tuned and keep on watching me. I made a short some weeks ago because I was buying the movie tickets regarding the first Slam Dunk. If you didn't watch that short video, I'm going to show them to you right now. As always, before starting with the review or with my thoughts, it's nice that I show you what I got about this movie. So as you can see, these are the two movie tickets cards that usually here in Japan are quite popular because we are going to collect them, and it depends which character you like, and they are going to give you the cards. Before watching the movie, I chose Hanamichi Sakuragi and Takenori Akagi, that are these two members of the Shohoku team, basketball team. But after watching the movie, I regretted to have both of these two, and later I'm going to explain to you why. I mean, it's not a huge regret, it's just that if I could have gone back in time, I would have bought another card, but stay tuned and keep on watching for that too. Anyway, these are the cards, they are super cute, once again, Sakuragi Hanamichi and Takenori Akagi. And then you know that when you're going to watch a movie here in Japan at the cinema, you're going to receive a special card or a special pamphlet or a booklet. I mean, a little poster. It depends on what the movie requests for the main gadget. But in this case, when my husband and I went to watch the first Slam Dunk, they were giving us these kawaii, these cute cards. You find the picture even on Instagram, so go and follow me, because over there most of the times I am uploading the gadgets that I receive or many other things, so go over there and check them out. But anyway, I think this card is really cute. Look, on the back side of this card, of course, once again, it's written not for sale, as always, so please, if you live in Japan and you collect these cards later, it's better if you don't sell them because it's illegal. But anyway, there is even this QR code. Look, we tried to scan it, but it's not working. I don't understand why. Both cards are giving me the same problems. But anyway, maybe I will retry once again in few days. But as you can see, it's written here, the first Slam Dunk film partners, because these are the official cards that you receive when you go at the cinema to watch it. I don't know if in your country it will come out. I really hope that, also because here in Japan this movie had a great success in the first days, but even now that it's almost 1 week after the first release. So I really hope that you will have the chance to watch this movie. Okay, from now on I'm going to talk about many things regarding the movie, so I will put even some spoilers as always, because otherwise it's hard for me to tell you my thoughts and to explain how I felt, etc, etc. So if you don't want to hear any spoiler, it's better if you close the video, it's better if you don't go ahead, and I understand because I am the first one who doesn't like spoilers. So in this case it's better if you don't watch the video, and maybe you can come back once you'll be able to watch the movie, things that I really hope for you. So don't worry, because I will not feel offended by that. I totally respect that. For those who wanted to keep going ahead with the video, just for you to know that I'm going to put lots of spoilers because I have to narrate some things in order for you to understand what what was going on. So 3, 2, 1, spoiler part. Okay, first of all, if you ask me if I liked this movie, I have to say totally yes. That was a great movie and it really caught my heart, sincerely. I cried multiple times, to be honest with you, and this movie was incredibly awesome. I really think that I would have given to this movie 10 out of 10 because it has everything. I think it's a complete movie, and yeah, before even starting by telling you some details about it, I wanted to thank Inoue, the mangaka, but even the person who decided to be part of the production of this movie. And I think that he was the greatest person for this movie because he created the manga many years ago, and I think that he definitely knows what he wants to convey as a message, what he wants to convey as action scenes. I mean, everything that he created could have been explored quite well. I read Slam Dunk, the manga. I mean, I didn't read it by focusing so much on each character, but let me tell you that I read the manga, so I know what it is talking about. And I think that Inoue with this movie explored the characters definitely, and he was paying attention on details more and more, better than the manga sometimes. So I think that you will definitely enjoy. I'm not just talking about the action scenes, but even emotionally speaking, things regarding the characters and their personality. So if you're a Slam Dunk fan, I think that you will definitely enjoy this movie. If I have to start my thoughts with a sentence like I did for Suzume no Tojimari, I mean, if I have to describe this movie in a couple of sentences, these sentences should be: usually we pay attention on the main character, the main role in a team, but the essential part comes first. I mean, the essential part is something that usually you don't see, or something that it's hidden from your eyes because you're too focused on something else or somebody else, that makes you forget what's the missing part. Why do I say this? Is because of the main protagonist of this movie, that it's not Sakuragi Hanamichi, it's not Akagi, it's not Mitsui, it's not Rukawa, but the main character of this movie is Miyagi. And you can see it, I mean, you can detect it from the poster, because in the main poster of the movie, Miyagi is in front of all of them, right? What surprised me is that besides the manga, in which Miyagi doesn't have these immense role, or he's not explored so much, as much as in this movie. You see Miyagi's life, you see Miyagi's decisions to join basketball and the reason why he wants to do that. You understand the hard times of Miyagi when he's struggling to become a great player in basketball, and what was his muse, what was his real purpose, and everything reflects his struggling and his relationship with his family. The hard times of these characters are quite multiple, and you are discovering a side of a character that in the manga it's not possible to be depicted. So that's why I wanted to thank Inoue, because in the manga Miyagi was not explored as much as in this movie, and I think that you will definitely enjoy, also because this movie narrates the last battle that it's quite relevant in the manga, that is the Shohoku versus the Sanno team. That is exactly what's happening at the end of the manga. I believe the 1990s anime didn't represent these last battle, these last fight between the two teams. So I think that Inoue Sensei wanted to combine something that you have never seen as much as you see in this movie. That means this great fight between these two teams. And at the same time you see something unusual, something you have never seen before, also because the character of Miyagi is quite well described and explored. So I think that this movie will surprise you, will definitely let you feel emotional, and you will let you be part of what's happening in the movie. Not just because you can relate sometimes with what Miyagi is experiencing throughout his life, but also because if you are a basketball fan, or if you are a fan of a Shohoku, you will definitely cheer them throughout the entire game. So I think you will definitely be part of the scenes you're watching. Another thing that I wanted to say is what was criticized the most, that is the graphic, the CGI and everything. I think that from the trailer I was misjudging too, because I was watching the trailer and I didn't make the reaction video of it, so you can't find the reaction video of the first Slam Dunk. I mean, just the presentation, but then when other trailers came out I didn't comment on them, and I didn't want to make reaction videos also because I was busy doing something else, so you couldn't find these on the channel. But if you want my honest opinion, when I was watching those trailers, it was like, oh no, the CGI is still there even in this movie, things will not be good, and etc, etc. The same thoughts that I had when I was watching Dragon Ball Super Hero, I mean the trailers. But later, when I was going to the cinema to watch both movies, I have to tell you honestly, I changed my mind totally, because one thing is the trailer, one thing is what you're going to see for, I think, 2 hours. Yeah, I think the movie lasted 2 hours more or less, and the CGI is not a big deal. It's not a huge problem as you might imagine. So you should go to the cinema with a light heart about this subject, because it's not going to affect you at all. And I think that this CGI was used on purpose. You will understand that they used a fluid CGI in which you can see the movements of the players while they are playing the game, that they are simply awesome. Even the scenography was totally understandable, and the CGI was matching pretty nicely with the scenes. There are lots of techniques used in this movie regarding the CGI and the way in which you can become even a part of the game, as much as I was telling you, thanks to it. So even if I know that you are not believing so, I suggest you to go and watch the movie so you can change your mind too, as much as I was doing. If I have to say something bad that was happening because of the CGI, in my opinion, of course, then you are able to make your thoughts once you will watch it. But I think that the only negative point of the CGI was that the facial expressions were too stable. I mean, they were not adjustable based on the emotions that the players were feeling in those moments. So I think that they were too static, and you know, when you have to represent emotions, most of the times if the facial expression is static, you can't even detect what's the real intentions or what's the real emotion of that protagonist or that character in that specific scene. So if I have to say something bad about this movie, I think that that's just the only thing that I can think about. Because for the rest of the things, I think that the pace of the movie was simply great, that the story was matching exactly with the game and what was happening in the game. If you read the manga, you know what I mean. I think that even this choice to give the importance to a character like Miyagi, that is an unusual character, and later I'm going to explain it to you why I say something like this, that was awesome. I want even to praise the music, because the music was perfectly matching with what was happening in the specific scenes. It doesn't matter if it regards Miyagi's background story or the game itself, but it made you want to be there and play with them, you know, or it made you want to be part of the Shohoku team while they were trying to defeat the Sanno. Even the most important action scenes that you could see in this movie, they were perfectly fitting with the music and the soundtrack. So I wanted to thank all of the people who were working on the music, because the music you see in the trailer, that's the music I really like the most. But if you will see those action scenes during the game, you will understand what I mean. There were moments in which I was crying hard, to be honest with you, especially when they were talking about Miyagi's background story. I think that they are describing this story quite well. You see that everything starts from a scene in which you see two young boys playing basketball, and we are in Okinawa because Miyagi is from Okinawa. You see that these two boys are Miyagi, that means Ryota, and his brother Sota. Both of them really like basketball, but let's say that Sota is the typical brother, older brother that is taking care of the younger one, and he is the most talented regarding basketball. That's why Ryota is trying to be trained by him, because he really wants to be on his same level. He wants to be like his brother. Is just like a goal that you have to reach in order to feel on the same level. That's what's happening most of the times when one is the oldest brother and the other one is the youngest one. So as you can see, these sort of a competition between brothers, that is a good competition. I mean, it's not that Ryota was going against Sota or that he was envying him. No, it was more like a goal that has to be reached, because Ryota was admiring Sota so much, and that's why he wanted to reach his talent. He wanted to reach what he really was. That means a great talent in basketball. When Ryota, sorry, because they are both Miyagi, but I'm talking about him as if he's a member of a Shohoku. But anyway, when he is young, Miyagi Ryota is experiencing something really terrible, because suddenly his father dies. And there is this beautiful scene, a sad but beautiful scene at the funeral of his father, when Sota is trying to reach his mom, because his mom is in front of the main picture that usually here they put during a funeral in Japan, and Sota is saying to his mom, look, now don't worry, because I am the captain of this family, because now he was the oldest man in the family, right? And at that time, in that scene, Ryota, that is the younger one, he is behind these two characters, that means Sota and his mom, and he is looking at this scene as if he feels meaningless, because he doesn't have anything to do in order to make his mom happy or to cheer her up. So I definitely wanted to say that Miyagi's character is in a constant development throughout this movie. You will see how he's building his personality based on tragical events that are happening in his life. And I really like this choice, because even if it's something really usual that you see in stories like this, especially if it's regarding a specific sport. In Spokon anime or manga, that's what's happening. Based on failures, based on tragical events, you develop your character, and at the same time, you are making a special friend that is the sport itself, that is helping you through the struggles, and it's helping you to still feel alive, right? That's what's happening to Miyagi, because he finds his main purpose, his main goal in basketball. And I think basketball, for him, it's becoming both an enemy and a best friend. That's what I felt, especially because in the first part of his existence, Ryota feels as if basketball is an enemy, because he's not talented as much as Sota. So the more he's struggling, the more he can't reach his level. Also because, and especially because, one day Sota had to train Ryota as usual, and at a certain point, some of Sota's friends are coming to tell him that they have to start the fisheries. They have to go fishing, and it's too late. They have to go. They are rushing, etc., etc. And of course, Ryota, who was supposed to be trained by him, feels really angry with him because he promised him that he was training him. So that's something really usual, right? When the two brothers are fighting because one is promising the other one something, etc., etc. It's like I felt that moment as when I was watching Naruto, in which Sasuke was promised to be trained by Itachi, and then there is that huge separation. In fact, even in this movie, you see that Ryota is looking at Sota going away with this boat because they have to go fishing, and he's not coming back anymore because Sota dies. So I wanted to spend some words about this scene because those are the scenes that I like the most. I told you already this even for Suzume no Tojimari, but even in many other contexts. I really like how Japanese mangakas or animators are describing the moment of the separation, because after that moment something has to be changed for real, and there is like a division between the past and the present time that is good to be handled in order to create a great future. So I think that even in this case, as much as for Suzume no Tojimari, the main character, is experiencing something really terrible, and even if it's something not good to say, I think that that thing that was happening was necessary because Ryota had to explore himself more and try to be able to make it, try to be able to explore his talent in basketball, even without his brother. He was relying on his brother too much, and it's like as if Ryota had to follow his path by himself and without the usual help. Even if death is coming most of the times to steal that member of the family that is dear the most, on the other side you can see this story in a different way, because no matter the sadness that Ryota is feeling, on the other side it's thanks to that death that Ryota can become a great basketball player. I don't want to say that this death was, necessary, but it was, because without that, probably Sota would have been always the most talented, and Ryota would have still keep struggling to reach him without a possibility to do so. So sometimes I think that what happened to Sota was just a gift to Ryota, to manifest his talent, to dig deep inside his heart, and to fulfill a mission that was not possible to be fulfilled because of what happened to Sota. So I think that everything that is happening after this loss is just a way for Ryota to shine more and more. Another thing I want to say is that as much as I was telling you regarding that funeral scene in which you see that Sota is trying to cheer his mom up, and by saying that he is the captain of the family because he was the oldest one, immediately after he's meeting Ryota and he's saying, look, I am the captain of this family, but you are the vice captain. And I think, guys, that this means a lot for what's happening later when they are playing the game against the Sanno, because you will understand what I mean the more I keep talking about this. During those moments in which Sota died, you see how much Ryota feels hopeless and how he's touching the deepest side of his self, because he doesn't want to do anything anymore. He feels hopeless, and at the same time his own self is contrasting inside himself by trying to keep going ahead playing basketball, by trying to play by himself, because there is this beautiful scene in which you see that at the beginning of the movie he was trained by Sota, so when he was going training, they were the two of them. But now you see that he is by himself and he is pretending to see Sota in front of his eyes, even if Sota is not there. But I really catch that feeling as if Sota is always there trying to help his brother, even if he can't see him physically speaking. That doesn't mean that he's not there. I really believe that Sota was always there throughout the entire movie next to Ryota, trying to remind him what's really important, what was essential for him to reach that level of a basketball player. But anyway, if you see that Ryota, no matter the sadness, no matter the pain he's feeling, he's trying his best to keep training and to feel as if there's something still to believe in. On the other side, you see his relationship with his mom, that it's quite terrible at the beginning, because his mother really loved Sota, really loved his talent, and she really put all her support on him because he was the most talented. And of course, even if sometimes these might happen in families in which a parent is praising one son instead of all the others, and this is quite wrong, because as a mom you should treat all the kids in the same way, right? But I really like that there is a human side that you could explore of his mom, because you can even understand the fragility of a mother that is losing both the husband and even the oldest son, that is even the first son that she had, right? I really wanted to put myself in her position instead of judging her, because even if she was punishing Ryota for not being a Sota, sometimes it's so easy to judge a condition like that until you really experience it. And I think that Ryota's mom felt the deepest pain that a mother can ever imagine. And I think that we should get in touch with this character that is Sota's and Ryota's mom, because it's not easy to handle something like this, especially when you have other two kids to raise, because Ryota is not the youngest, there is even a sister. He has to replace Sota, even if he can't. So I understand both characters. I understand the hardship that Ryota is trying to make in order to reach Sota's level. But on the other side, I really understand even their mom, who saw two most important people of her lives be gone, and the anger that she's feeling because of that. I really understand her. And in fact, Ryota's mom is trying her best to erase Sota from their family. I mean, she prefers to hide all the pictures in which Sota is there. She prefers to prepare a box in which she's putting inside all the things regarding Sota. But Ryota is not agreeing with this, because he really believes that even if Sota is gone, he's still there and has to be remembered. Otherwise, his life was meaningless, was pointless. I think that that was a great message to give, because it's always the same thing that I tell you, right? The more you remember a person, no matter if he or she is gone, the more he keeps going on living. So I think that that was a huge mistake that Ryota's mom was doing. I mean, try to erase what happened, or try to erase even the existence of this son. But as much as I was telling you before, I can definitely understand her and her pain, what she was feeling at that time, because she couldn't even bear with these painful feelings. So she preferred not to see, instead of facing this atrocity that happened. But it's exactly in these moments that you have to face the pain, or you have to face the fact that that person is gone, because the more you participate that moment, the more you keep suffering. So I totally agree with Ryota. It's better not to hide the fact that Sota is gone, but at the same time, if you keep remembering him, he will still be there. And it's a way to praise your son that he's gone, and by trying to remember him, and he's a huge talent, that's something undeniable. That's something that it's not gone, because there was even another beautiful scene in which Sota and Ryota's mom was watching some of the old tapes in which she could rewatch Sota playing basketball when he was younger. And I think that, yeah, Sota was not just a muse for Ryota, I mean, something that, a goal that has to be reached, but it was even quite a great inspiration, because Ryota could remember even how Sota was struggling, becoming a great player, and all his suggestions, they were all inside Ryota's mind. And the more I'm telling you Ryota's story, the more the game was going ahead at the same time. I was telling you this at the beginning of this video. There was an equal presence of both the scenes. I mean, the background story of Ryota, and at the same time they were playing the game against the Sanno. So these two things are colliding perfectly through the movie, and you can understand why Miyagi sometimes wants to react in a certain way during the play, and at the same time you understand this reason because there are lots of flashbacks. So it was perfectly matching these two different sides of the movie that were perfectly matching throughout it. So I liked this choice of Inoue to represent both moments, because one is a consequence of the other one. I mean, the background story of Ryota is highly affecting the game that they are playing, and that's why it was really important to dig inside this character to understand the difficulty to reach a position in a basketball team that was quite relevant, and the way in which he was struggling all the times to reach the slam dunk area of the basketball field, especially because at the beginning of the movie you see this scene in which Ryota and Sota are training, but what's hard for Ryota is to reach the position in order to make the slam dunk, and that's really hard for him, not just because of his height, but because he doesn't know how to get rid of Sota while he's trying to mark him like this. So that was a huge trauma that Ryota has throughout all his life, until he understood that there is not just the place of the slam dunk that is essential, that is really important, but there are other important roles in a team, especially in the basketball team. And the slam dunk is not possible if there is not something before reaching that position. So I think that this movie wants to convey this huge message that sometimes we are focusing on the main role of a basketball team or a volleyball team, or no matter the sport, right? And this doesn't regard the sport only. It can regard even any other thing you're doing in your life. And most of the times we are focusing on the most important one, on the most relevant role in a team or whatever. Most of the times we are focusing on what's appearing as if it's the first thing we see in front of our eyes, right? But we don't pay attention on what's behind these major character, these important character, all the other characters, all the other roles that are affecting the main one, who are helping the main one, who are helping the main character to reach that level. And I think that Ryota is one of those characters. He is the plus that you need in order to reach the slam dunk position. I mean, at the moment in which you have to make a slam dunk. And that's why, connecting with what I was telling you at the beginning of the video, that's why I regret to have bought the Hanamichi and Akagi card. Because if I could go back in time, I would have bought the Miyagi's card. Also because I was also doing the same thing that I'm criticizing now. I mean, I was buying the Hanamichi and Akagi's card because Hanamichi was one of my favorite characters in Slam Dunk because of his hilarious way to talk and because of all these gag scenes, etc., etc. But also because when he wanted, he was really powerful. And he's even in this movie. But for the first time, this movie was not focusing on him. This movie was focusing on the hiding side, the role that seemed not to be so important as much as his. And that's why I really liked this choice, because sometimes we are too blind to focus on something that is shining the most in front of our eyes, losing the possibility to check the entire panorama. And I think that Miyagi is a great panorama, also because without him, without his strategy that was developed throughout the years in which he was training more and more and he was challenging himself to push himself to be better, all Sakuragi Hanamichi's slam dunks were impossible to be made. So as you can see, Miyagi throughout the movie is recognizing, is understanding, and is praising even his role. That was really awesome, because you understand that no matter if you think that you are useless in a team, no, you matter, because what you do, other people can't. And that's why you have that role. Usually people wanted to push themselves to become like Hanamichi, that means the one who's making the slam dunk, or the Rukawa of the situation, that means the guy who is really talented and he's always surrounded by girls, etc., etc., or characters like Mitsui who seem really mysterious and have a background story that is quite terrible, because it's explored in this movie too. I mean, Mitsui is starting from a certain point and then he's changing and then he's changing once again, etc., etc. And I'm going to talk to you about it later. But as you can see, all of them have a specific role, but at the same time, everyone wants to be the usual characters, the leaders, and nobody wants to put himself or herself into these characters that seem so usual, or they seem not so important as the others. But later, if you discover their background story and if you discover their struggling that helped them reach that role, maybe you can fall in love more with those characters instead of the main ones. And that's why even in this movie you see how important secondary characters are, and that's why I liked this movie, because sometimes we think that a story is made just by the main character, and that's not true. Without the basics, the main character can't be the main character. Even the secondary characters are playing a great role, and we should praise them more, because the star of this movie was Ryota, guys. You will definitely cheer him up all the movie. And of course, all the other players are important. Of course, all the other members of the team are making lots of slam dunks, lots of points. But the good thing of this movie is that this final game was like climbing a mountain. This game was full of obstacles, was described as a hard game in order to reach the victory. And all the members were having a down moment, but these down moments were useful to understand the adversary and to understand themselves in order to cooperate all the members together, because the unity in a sport like basketball is the most important thing. The coordination, the strategy. I mean, basketball is not just the slam dunk. Basketball is a sport that has lots of strategy and lots of a mind, and not just the physical appearance. That's what Inoue wants to tell you through this movie. Because Sakuragi or Rukawa or even Akagi, they are really tall and they are the perfect representation of what a basketball player is. But in this movie, what matters is not just the physical appearance, it's also the strategy, it's also what Ryota is learning little by little, not just thanks to his background story, but even when he's playing that game together with all the others. So as you can see, basketball at the beginning could have seemed an enemy, as much as I was telling you, because of that role, because of the will of Ryota to be compared to his brother, to reach him, to surpass him, to be on his same level at least. But he could see throughout his life that he couldn't reach it because he really wanted to reach the slam dunk area, but he couldn't. He was always stopped by others. So look, by being stopped, it's not just a limitation, it's also a recognition of your limits, but those limits make you understand what your role can be. I mean, if you can't reach the slam dunk area, let the ball reach the slam dunk area. If you're not going, just pass the ball to the one who can reach it. And if he is making the slam dunk, you are part of that slam dunk too, because you helped that player making the slam dunk. That's why I was saying that later this sport in the movie is becoming a great ally, a great friend, because it's a thanks to the sport itself and thanks to understanding the sport you're playing that you can success, that you can reach the goal you have always wanted to reach. And even in this case, you can't reach that goal by being by yourself only, by training by yourself, by judging yourself because you did something wrong, etc., etc. No. This sport is based on a team. And it means that you can't do everything by yourself. You need the cooperation of all the others. And that's why Ryota's role is super important, because Sakuragi can't reach that slam dunk area without him or without all the other players. Rukawa can't reach the slam dunk area without Ryota, and without Ryota passing him the ball in a way that you will see. I mean, you will definitely like the moments when they are passing the ball to each other and they are trying to reach the slam dunk area, when they try to reach the basket case. Look, there will be super great moments, and let me tell you honestly, that was the first time that I was going to the cinema to watch a movie and to hear other Japanese people behind me or around me commenting. Because usually you can't talk, right? I mean, here in Japan, you have strict rules. When you go to the cinema, you can't comment, you can't cheer, you can't do anything. You just watch, right? And you watch in silence. I don't know in your country if it's the same, but this was the first time that I could hear lots of voices commenting, as if we were all part of the game, as much as I was telling you. So I definitely believe that if there was this sort of behavior here in Japan, I think that in your country you will you will share thoughts while watching the movie, or you will have fun all together. So be prepared for that. Yeah, I really believe that the meaning of the title of the movie, The First Slam Dunk, is a metaphor of where you wanted to start to where you wanted to reach. But there is this thing in the middle that can help you, the first thing, to reach the slam dunk. So the first slam dunk, that can mean even the first person, I mean, what's behind the person who's making the slam dunk. And the first person is Miyagi in this movie, that can help all the others making the slam dunk. So this essential role that doesn't have to be forgotten, also because even in this game sometimes Miyagi wants to try to reach that slam dunk area, wants to prove himself. Come on, even if I'm short, or even if I'm not the ideal player that can go under the basket case, let me try. And in fact, at the beginning, he's struggling doing so even during the game, but he's wrong because he can't, and the time is running, so he's letting his comrades lose the game. In fact, they are losing lots of points. But little by little, by remembering, thanks to these flashbacks, how his life was and how he was really struggling to fulfill not just his dream, but even Sota's dream, because thanks to a flashback, we understand that one of Sota's big dreams was to defeat Sanno And in fact, you see this beautiful scene of a certain cave that Sota could reach since the beginning, since his father died, in order to cry, in order to refresh his mind, in order to be himself, because that's another important subject of that is typical of Japanese society. That means honne and tatemae. That means these two visions that you might have in front of society and when you are alone by yourself. So your true identity versus the identity that you want to show in front of others. And I think that Sota was using this dualism of what he was. First of all, because he had to cheer his mother up by being the captain of the family and by being the one who had to raise the family from now on. And on the other side, because he was the one and only who could make his mother feel happy again, because he had this important role to help his mother to be alive still. And on the other side, yeah, you have this side of Sota that was discovered by Ryota, because Ryota was trying to find him. Where is Sota? Where is Sota? Until he found him inside this sort of cave. And it was beautiful because when he's finding him, he's seeing that Sota is crying hard. That means now that my mother is not looking at me, now that I can be free to be myself, let me cry, let me calm myself down and lose this tension that I was feeling throughout the funeral and whatsoever. So while Sota was still alive, Ryota had the chance to see his brother in his true identity. And even if he was hiding himself from all the others, he was still crying in front of Ryota, because they could create, thanks to this sad moment and painful moment, yeah, this important bond, this important way to be together and share the pain. In this story, the unity that I was talking to you about, it's not just during the game, and in fact, in the game it's reflected when all the characters are having a down moment while they are playing their game, but also thanks to these down moments, as much as I was telling you, there is this unity that can cooperate to let you feel better and to stand up again. I think one of my favorite motto here in Japan is fall down 7 times, stand up 8. That means that no matter how many times you are feeling down, there is always the number 8 time to stand up and start all over again. This is what's happening even in the game. Everyone is having a down moment and everyone is cheering the others up to stand, to keep fighting, and to be always together against a wall. And this wall is the Sanno, is this huge obstacle that they have to defeat in order to win. Victory is reached when you are always together, when you understand the defects of all the other members, but you can transform these defects into qualities, because one member can have one thing that the other member can't, as much as I was saying to you. This was a great other message that was conveyed through this movie. You can't try to reach your purposes alone. You always need to approach someone else. To become better, you have to be next to someone else, because it's just when you are next to someone else that you can understand who you are, the personality that you have, the way in which you can modify the personality you have. And it's a way to be open-minded, because the more you are open-minded, the more you can discover sides of your personality that if you were alone, it was not possible to explore. So as you can see, Ryota is doing the same thing. And even if his brother was gone, he didn't want to stop playing basketball, because that enemy that at the beginning was impossible to fulfill, now that his brother was gone, was becoming a best friend, was becoming the friend that is always staying silent, but can listen to you. And it was also a way to use basketball to remember his brother. So until he was playing basketball, it was a way for Sota to be still alive. That's why I think that that loss was not meaningless. It was just a way for Ryota to understand who he was. And I really liked even when they were moving, because after Sota died, his mother decided to move from Okinawa to Kamakura, that is the place in which they are living now and the place in which Slam Dunk is settled. But I think that even this moving thing didn't erase the passion of the basketball, because while his mother wanted to move because she wanted to hide, because she wanted to forget and not to see the usual places where Sota was going, etc., etc., from Ryota's point of view, it doesn't matter the setting, because no matter where he was going, he still wanted to play basketball. He still wanted to help the memory of Sota influence him. I really liked when they are moving, that they are moving to Danchi, that means these small apartments. He was trying to play basketball by himself and nobody wanted to play with him. And at the same time, people were complaining because he was playing basketball, but this was not let him give up easily. He kept playing basketball no matter if nobody wanted to play with him, no matter if people were complaining from the windows and they were saying, oh, go F yourself, go and play basketball somewhere else, you're noisy, etc., etc. I mean, I really like the solitude that Miyagi had to experience in order to reach a point in which he is joining the Shohoku later. Because first he had to experience the way in which he could stay with himself and not being surrounded by lots of other people or not always being helped by others. He had to find strength in order to reach the level he is right now. So I really like that there is a huge contrast between solitude and then at the end of the movie when he is surrounded by other members who really love him. That's what he really wanted to reach, being accepted not just by himself but even by others, being acknowledged not just by himself but even by other members. Throughout the movie it seems that his mother, thanks to the flashbacks she is not acknowledging him. She is not thinking that he can make it. And that's really sad. Yeah, if you see this thing from this point of view, it's really sad. Because you think that his mom is making a huge mistake. Because she really wanted that Sota could have been still alive, that he could have reached his goals, etc., etc. I mean, she was having lots of expectations on Sota, that when Sota is gone, nobody else can reach her expectations anymore. And that's why Ryota wants to keep going on with the basketball, because he's thinking, okay, I'm not talented enough as much as my brother, but that doesn't mean that I will give up on you and your expectations, because I can be your new expectations. I can make you feel proud of me. And this is something that I really admired of Miyagi. I really felt in touch with him. I really could see myself through him, because when you are not skilled enough in a certain circumstance, you feel that others are better, you feel that you will never be able to reach their levels, you feel that your role is meaningless because you don't have the usual physical appearance, because you don't follow the usual standards that other people can put as rules, but these rules were made by people. Nobody is saying that you can't do it, rather than yourself. And that's what Miyagi is representing here. The will to make it even if other people tells you that you can't. That's why I felt this character so inspirational, because throughout his life he is even helping the other characters, not just by making slam dunks, but in the case of Mitsui, he is helping him understanding that he can convert all the anger he has because of the moments in which he was still a bullying person, and he, thanks to Ryota, can change this anger that he feels, and instead of reflecting this anger towards others, he can transform this anger into an ability, into quality that can be useful in a role of a basketball team. So Miyagi was helpful to Mitsui quite a lot because he could change Mitsui's life by opening his eyes. And in fact, there is this beautiful flashback in which you see that Ryota is trying to defeat Mitsui because Mitsui wants to punch him so hard, and while all the others wanted to punch him, etc., etc., all the other members of this gang of Mitsui, Ryota wants to go straight to Mitsui because he wanted to show him, look, you wanted to challenge me, so I don't want to be beaten by others, I wanted to be beaten by you because you decided to face me. So I think that Ryota, by doing something like this, could have let Mitsui understand that it's nice to confront what's against you, what you don't support, what you don't understand, what you don't agree with. But you have to face it in order to understand if you're right or if you're wrong. And Ryota was really helpful in this because later you see that Mitsui is cutting his hair and he is joining the Shohoku. And he is joining a team that is not taking him to the wrong path, but it's a team that is leading him to competition. Like when he was bullying others, yeah, there was a sort of competition, but that competition is not taking you anywhere. While if you join a Shohoku or if you join a basketball team, that competition can lead to victory, a real one. And not just based on the status or based on the principles that you put in your mind, etc., etc. I mean, Ryota was really useful for Mitsui to understand this, that you can convert the anger as much as he was doing, because when he lost the Sota, he was really angry, because if that day Sota could have stayed with him, right now Sota would have still been alive, right? And he could have trained him more and more and more. So he was really angry when Sota died. But he could convert this anger that he had into something really beautiful. That is, to fulfill his mission, to become better, to be trained, to join a basketball team, to recognize and to acknowledge himself, the role he has, without feeling sad just because he can't reach the slam dunk area, but just accepting that not everyone can be over there, can stay over there. There are even people who can stay behind, but that can be really useful. And he could also fulfill his brother's mission because his brother wanted to defeat the Sanno, and in fact he could, thanks even to the flashback in which we understand that when Ryota is coming back to Okinawa after he is training, after he is a part of Shohoku, and before the Sanno's game, he is going back to Okinawa to go back in time, to explore the same places where Sota and him were going, to see what changed after so many years that he couldn't come back. And it was really emotional when he was passing in front of his previous house and he could see other people living there. That means that his past life is gone, but his memories are still there. I really liked when he saw two brothers playing soccer. I think, yeah, they were playing soccer in that case, and it was really emotional because, of course, throughout Ryota's life, everything was taking him to Sota and Sota's memories. So it was really, really emotional. And when he is going to Okinawa, he is even reaching that sort of cave that I was telling you, where Sota and Ryota spent lots of time there, where Ryota could see the real Sota. He's finding even an old box in which he inside can find some things that Sota left, like some magazines of pro basketball players, and he reminds himself of the moments in which they were talking about these. And in fact, in that moment, Ryota is asking Sota, "What's your dream? Would you like to go inside this team called the Sanno?" and he's saying, no, I don't want that. I want to beat them one day. So as you can see, what Ryota is doing by joining Shohoku and by trying to defeat Sanno is not just his will. It's like as if he wants to perpetrate Sota's mission too. And that's really good, because I like when things like these are happening. If Sota's dream couldn't have been fulfilled because of this accident that he had with that boat, it's like as if the soul of Sota is still stuck. Something has to happen in order to let him rest in peace. And that's what Ryota is trying to do, to let him rest in peace by winning the game against the sun. So throughout the sets in which they are playing one after the other, Ryota is also thinking something like this. He's thinking that he has to beat the sun, not just for himself, not just for the team, but because he needs Sota to rest in peace. And I find this really marvelous. In fact, look, I cried a couple of times this time. Look, I think that was the movie in which I cried the most, sincerely, and I would have never expected this. The soft way and the intimate way in which we can dig inside Ryota's feelings is super amazing. Of course, the movie is going ahead and there are some interesting sketches from Hanamichi, and even his relationship with Rukawa that is still not good, because they are debating all the times. No, you should have done this, no, you should have done that. I mean, you see even the fragility of Rukawa when he can't reach the slam dunk area at a certain point, and he's thinking that he's not good enough, that everyone has great expectations on him and he can't even reach these expectations because now he's losing. There are, down moments on everyone, even Akagi, who is feeling bad at a certain point because he's injured and he's staying over there down on the ground by thinking, there are those scenes in which the character is down on the ground and he's still thinking about the way in which he's not successful, why he's not successful. There is a moment in which a little evil thing, like a mascot, is appearing on Akagi's body, and this little puppet that is resembling like the devil, in this case like a demon, that is trying to let him feel down more and more, and he is trying to convince Akagi that he can't win this match, that he is too old, that he can't do that now everything is done already, that it's decided that the team is going to fail. I liked all these moments in which all these characters are having a down moment, especially Hanamichi, because while he's trying to rescue the ball and he's trying to protect it, he is going to be injured and he's having back pain. So he thinks that he is a burden to all the team because he's going out to relax and to rest a little bit while all the others are still struggling. I mean, you see that all the team is affected by something, but at the same time, this unity that I was talking to you about, let them feel less lonely. That makes you understand that everyone is pushing himself to struggle to reach the victory, not just for themselves personally, but for the entire team, as if the team is becoming one. And I want to open a bracket because I think that Jijan, the coach, was simply brilliant in this, because at a certain point he is having a speech with all the team and he's saying, look, you are Shohoku. Shohoku is this. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. A team of 5. And all of you have different characteristics that if you put them together, you are invincible. Shohoku is each of you together. When you put them together, you can create something really amazing. And I agree with this. because everyone in that moment was feeling down because they were losing 20 points. I mean, it's too much in a basketball game, right? But sometimes you need people who cheer you up. You need that comfortable words that are warming your heart, that are let you feel that nothing is done until time finishes. And that's another important message, because even if there were 20 points distance between one team and the other one, until time is 0-0-0-0, it's not over. So you have to keep going on fighting you have to keep giving your best until you reach the final moments, until you reach the end of the game, because that makes you proud of yourself, because at least you struggled till the last seconds, and that's what's making you feel strong. Because it's as much as I was telling you, it's not just about the physical appearance or physical strength, but it's even something mental, and basketball is a mental strength game. You have to be strong, not just on your feet when you run, but you have to be strong mentally speaking. When everything is hopeless, you still have to find a strategy to be tried in order to reach the basket case. And that's why Ryota was good, because in the moments in which the others were down, he was cheering them up. He was saying, look, come on, let's go, let's try to do so. And I really admired these, for real. I liked the Jijan for a flashback because it was a flashback regarding Mitsui. And Mitsui, before joining Shohoku, because he was reluctant still, he had long hair still. But he was looking at Jijan, that means the coach, training with the other girl that is the manager of the team. Mitsui is seeing the coach physical condition, right? He doesn't have that perfect athletic body, right? But it doesn't matter, because the coach was training himself. He was running with that girl, and they were talking about the strategy for the next game. So as you can see, even the coach represents the perfect concept of what basketball is. It's not just physical appearance. It's not how trained your body is. It's also something mental. Is the typical representation of what we should do in front of prejudices or in front of stereotypes. We should go against the stereotypes, the usual concept of how a person should be in order to do things like this and that and that. I mean, it was well represented even in the movie when they couldn't reach the slam dunk area. I mean, the area in which you can make a slam dunk. But they could make 3 points from outside, from the out area, right? That's the best shoot, because I love the 3 points shoot, to be honest. It makes you understand then you don't have to reach necessarily that area. You can even throw the ball and make 3 points from the outside area. So that was simply amazing. And that's why people shouldn't focus on the slam dunk moment only, but should focus on the entire game and who's making that game. That is all the members, not just one. Another scene that I really liked was when Ryota's mom came to watch the game, because in that moment you understand that their mom was not being rude to Ryota because she didn't like Ryota, she didn't like his dream whatsoever. I think that in that moment you see her perspective and the fear to lose another son, maybe because she lost her husband, she lost a son, and the other son she has the same passion as the previous one. So you understand that that was not true what Ryota was seeing. That means our rude mom that didn't want to support him because she really cared about Sota and that's it and whatsoever. No, I think that from the perspective of their mom, you can see the fear to lose Ryota too, because she's seeing basketball as a curse and as something that can steal her other son, take him away from her. And this is something amazing. I mean, the way in which it is described that this pain this mother has, it's incredible. And I really liked that because you see the fragility that is well described once again here. The fragility of a mom that is absolutely recognizing the talent that Ryota reached, but at the same time she's afraid to lose him too, and she's afraid that, unconsciously speaking, the same sport is taking him away from her. That's why maybe she wanted to erase Sota. That's why she didn't want to support Ryota when he kept going ahead with basketball. She found it as a curse, yeah. Something that had to be erased from their lives to feel better. But you can't escape from reality. You can't escape from the fact that Ryota felt alive when he was playing basketball. It was a way to reconjunct himself with his brother. She couldn't let these disappear. And I cried so much because while she was looking at him playing, and when she couldn't be listened by him, she was cheering him up and she was saying, go ahead, Ryota, do it now. I mean, that was really nice because you can see the other side of a person that is deciding not to show that side to you, but it's still there. And even if Ryota has never seen that mother cheering him up, she was doing it. She was there looking at him while playing. And that's something amazing because a mom is not a mom just when she's in front of you. She's a mom even when you're not looking at her. And maybe that side of being a mom is the most precious, even if we don't see it. Also because there was another flashback talking about this anger that Ryota's mom had towards him is when Ryota, by still thinking about Sota, was having an accident. And yeah, I think that after he was bullied by Mitsui or after he was punched a lot by him, he was taking this motorcycle maybe, yeah, and he's having that accident because he's not paying attention on the signs and he's just going because maybe at that time he was thinking maybe if I'm dying too, I can reach Sota and I can stay with him once again. At the beginning of this scene, you see that he's inside of a tunnel. I mean, he's somewhere that is a little bit dark. But later, after he goes out of the tunnel, he has this incredible panorama of the sea. And then he's having an accident. So when he's waking up and he's in the hospital, his mother is shouting out loud and he's saying, "What are you doing? What did you do? Why did you do that? Are you stupid?" And then she's going away, but that was her way to express the fear of losing him, one other member of her family. And that was not a way to say that she was against him, but she was exploding because after all these losses, she was afraid to lose another member. And I don't want to be in her position, sincerely. That was really hard. The way in which the mother was described, her fragility, her way to get rid of that pain and try to put aside her will in order to respect what Ryota wanted to make. That was amazing. Then we are approaching the end of the movie. I think that there is a moment that is connected with the beginning of the movie. I talked to you about that funeral scene in which Sota is cheering his mom while the other two little kids are staying behind. When the game is reaching the end, you see the same scene more or less, but this time Sota is not moving because of course he's dead. And in this case you see a big Ryota, because he grew up, in the same scene, in the same context of the funeral, reaching his mom, trying to hug her. Even if that mom doesn't exist, it's just the feeling of hugging his mom in the moment of the funeral. And it's like a way as if he's saying, look, at the end of the day, I am the captain of the family. It was not Sota, it's me, because I'm still alive and I will protect you, I will be there for you. While he's hugging his mom, he's having the Shohoku's uniform. That was awesome, guys. I think that I cried there too, because in this movie I cried so many times that I lost the count of it. But you will feel emotional, definitely. And even this connection between being a captain of a family while being a captain of a team, because in the manga it's said that Akagi is no more the captain, but Miyagi is the captain. So as you can see, being the captain not just of a family but of a team, and even if you can't reach the slam dunk, you are still the captain. It's a honor that you can't betray because of your previous expectations. I wanted to thank Inoue once again because of the choice of how to make the last scene when they win, when the time is running, and there is this anxiety that you can really feel in the room while you watch the movie. I really liked his choice because in the last scene, when there is the last moment in which the ball is reaching the basket case, everything is muted. You can't hear a noise. Everything is silenced. There are just the facial expressions. There is just the movement of the ball. There is the facial expression of all the audience watching for that moment. There is the timer running, but everyone is completely silenced. There is no noise, and I liked that choice because it was like as if the manga was animated. It's like as if we were part of the manga, and the only one who could represent these could have only been the mangaka, the creator of this story. And that's why I really liked the fact that he collaborated to this movie, because it was his story, and the way in which he was describing the most important moment of the movie, that means the way to reach victory, was simply awesome. You will definitely love that moment. Even the moment after, when I was checking Rukawa and Hanamichi doing this, that is the most important panel in the manga, the most well represented, maybe, yeah. That was really awesome. That was the moment in which even Rukawa and Hanamichi, who have always had diversity of thoughts, know ways to stay together, to understand each other, to get in touch with each other, to be more mature, to confront themselves without being rude to each other, etc., etc. That moment was erasing everything. Was the moment that everyone was expecting, because the two antagonists of the same team were becoming colleagues, were becoming acknowledged by themselves, and I really liked that moment. Yeah, even these details of the sweat that was well depicted in this movie too. You will see sometimes the sweat that is the protagonist of some scenes, and everything you have liked about Slam Dunk the manga, it will be there. If it's just a matter of a CGI, don't matter about that, because you will enjoy even the CGI. I'm definitely sure. I'm not a fan of the 3 CGI, but I really enjoyed the movements of the players, the way in which the ball was coordinated to the movements of them, the way in which they were going back and forth to the basketball field. You will definitely appreciate the scenography and the way in which this technique of the CGI was used to represent the fluidity and the speed of the players, the way in which they are bouncing their body in order to recreate a new strategy to go on the other side of the field to try to make the slam dunk. And yeah, the last seconds in which that ball was passed to Hanamichi to make the last moment in which the ball is reaching the basket case. That was amazing, stunning, brilliant. You will love that moment. And even the other things coming later, because the way in which they are screaming out of joy, and Miyagi is on top of all of them when he's trying to hug all of them, because one is all and all is one. Look, it was well represented. And yes, once again I wanted to praise the music. because the music was making a great role, except for that scene in which everything is muted. But the actions that were corresponding perfectly to the soundtrack. It was a great movie. And I liked even later when the match is finished and Miyagi is still the protagonist because he is meeting his mom in front of the ocean because they are on the beach. And Miyagi is meeting his mom after the match and he is really proud. He was writing to her a letter and she was reading it before she knew, of course, that they were winning. But after they won, they met in the exact place in which she was reading that letter. And that letter was simply amazing because Miyagi was thanking his mom to have always been there anyway. And he is also thanking basketball because he has never regretted the moment in which he decided to go ahead and keep playing basketball because of what I told you before. So his mom was proud too because of that choice. Because when everyone was not cheering him, and he also had hard times when he was feeling alone after Sota's death and how he was struggling through some basketball teams and he was always the last one. He was always stuck in that idea that he had to reach that basket case no matter what, while not admitting that it was important even another role that was not that. He struggled a lot until he reached the final goal, but he reached it now. From that moment on, he is becoming a great player. And before reaching the end of the last scenes, I wanted to tell you another scene that I loved the most. That is another flashback when it's Ryota's and Sota's birthday. Of course, Sota is dead, but there was a great tradition that means to buy a cake and to write happy birthday Sota and Ryota, to cut the cake into four, because even if Sota is dead anyway, they cut the cake into 4 pieces. They are giving this piece to Sota where he usually seated, and Ryota is cutting this chocolate plate into 2 parts and he is eating his part. I liked that scene because even if Sota was dead, they were still going ahead with that tradition to celebrate both birthdays in the same day by doing the same thing, the same usual thing, that means buying a cake, split the chocolate plate into 2, as if Sota was still alive. Because in Ryota's point of view, he was always alive. Until he was playing basketball, he was always alive. And even if there was a great moment of tension and sadness during that scene, yeah, you could feel it, but at the same time, I was relieved to see that they were not forgetting about Sota, and Ryota kept remembering his brother over and over and over again. All the references you will see in the movie that are between the flashbacks and the game that is played, sometimes even during the game, Ryota is seeing Sota's face while he is confronting an enemy of Sanno, an adversary of Sanno. That was beautiful because he remembered all the training that he made with his brother and how his brother was incitating him by marking him to move away from there and trying to find his way to reach the basket case. Even if he couldn't, but that was nice because he kept trying at least. By the way, even if in this movie they were not focusing on the other characters as much as for Ryota, I wanted to say that I appreciated the way in which these characters were staying a step back this time, because it was Ryota's moment to shine. And anyway, it doesn't matter anything because we know a lot about the other characters, and I really appreciated that Hanamichi was not making lots of sketches regarding Akagi's sister, all these things, right? I really believed that it was not essential this time. And that's why I know that many people complained about the voice acting that totally changed from the 1990s anime version and this movie. But let me be honest, in this movie there was not the need of the previous voice acting. You will definitely enjoy the pace, the tone of the voice of this voice acting, that are perfectly matching with the circumstances. There were not so many times to laugh in this movie. There was nothing to laugh, at least. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, because Hanamichi was making some usual sketches, but you will see the difference of a tone that is used here. And I think it was the perfect one, because the seriousness of what this movie wants you to reach doesn't need the usual voice acting. Even these way in which they were representing the eyes, the catchy phrases that Rukawa was using, the moment in which you can see how strong these characters are because of the vision of their eyes. I mean, it was a serious movie. It was not a laughable one. And it was good that it was like this. I was not affected by this change of voice acting, sincerely. Also because most of the times Miyagi was the protagonist, Miyagi and his family. And also because during the action scenes, they are not talking a lot. There are more actions than dialogues, more actions than thoughts. And that's why I really appreciated the choice of the voice acting. I really appreciated all the strategical ways to represent the beauty of this sport, because Miyagi was not the only main protagonist. Basketball was the other great protagonist, and how this sport is well described, well analyzed by techniques, by ideas, by strategy that are not working, so let's try the next one, by not giving up, by going back and forth, by being punished, by fail, by winning. I mean, that was so great. I don't want to forget another character that was relevant, especially at the end of the movie, that is the number 9 player of the Sanno team. Because even if they didn't show anything about his background story as much as for the manga, but in the anime you see that even if they lost, he is crawling because he is starting crying after he lost, and he understood that he was underestimating Miyagi especially. I mean, he was focusing a lot to go against Rukawa or against Hanamichi, but he didn't understand that he was underestimating a member of the team just because of these stereotypes, the usual ones. And in fact, that's why he feels so miserable, because he lost by not paying attention on all the team, but just on the usual players that he wanted to challenge, he wanted to defeat, etc., etc., etc. And the good thing is that at the end of the movie there is something that in the manga you can't find. That is that after some years you see that Miyagi and this number 9 player of Sanno are meeting again, and they both meet in America, because both Miyagi and this player are becoming players of 2 different teams in America of basketball. And you can see how now this number 9 player wants to confront Miyagi. I mean, he doesn't want to confront the usual players, I mean, the usual standards that basketball is giving you, but he saw Miyagi and he said in his mind, I wanted to confront him this time. That was really awesome, even to see that Ryota could fulfill his dream, because no matter the standards, no matter the stereotypes, no matter the usual beliefs that we have, he was becoming a great member of this American team. And by joining, he was fulfilling another dream of a Sota, that means to become a great basketball player that was recognized by everyone. And that was not Sota, that was Ryota, the one that nobody expected anything from him. That's why I like these movies, because they give you the chance to think that nothing is impossible until you declare it that it's impossible. If you don't have a talent, that doesn't mean that you can conquer That doesn't mean that you can't try your best to obtain what you wanted to obtain. It's depending on your way to struggle against the problem. If you're facing the problem, you are going to make it probably. But if you are moving away from the problem, if you step away from it and you are going on another path just because it's too difficult, just because look, I can't make it, people told me that I can't, or look, I don't fit perfectly the standards for a player, etc., etc. If you are convinced by others, you will never make it. You have to convince yourself and be strong to yourself, even if other people don't appreciate you or what you can give them, or they don't appreciate the struggles, they don't appreciate the effort you put in what you wanted to do. You have to prove yourself that you can, no matter what other people are saying. And Miyagi is a great example. That's why, look, I regret that I didn't buy that card because I really wanted the Miyagi's card, now more than ever. I felt stupid because we first are the ones who try to focus on the main players when there is a match, or the main characters when we watch an anime, the coolest one, etc., etc. But sometimes we miss the point. Sometimes we don't think that even the character that is a little bit there aside from the center can be super amazing too. And that's a great lesson that Inoue Sensei was giving us with this movie. This sport could have been a therapy too. Not just for Miyagi, but even for Miyagi's mom. Because she recovered thanks to basketball, or thanks to Ryota playing basketball. Because she could believe again into something after everything that happened. So this makes you understand that sports are something really great. They can help you mentally speaking, physically speaking, but they can let you compete in a healthy way. And I think all people should focus on a sport, or should practice an ability, a passion, whatever, that reconducted to sports, because all sports have rules, that's true, and they are quite educational because they give you the importance of rules and how you have to respect them, but they give you even the possibility to enjoy and to space out when things are wrong. The sport can help you when nobody else is there for you. It's a great way to become more mature by asking for help when it's necessary. And that's why I really suggest you to go and watch this movie, guys. I think that Inoue Sensei made it 100, and I hope that he is going ahead even with Vagabond. Because he has to finish this other great story, but he definitely made it. And please don't be discouraged by the CGI. Give it a chance, because this movie was one of the best anime movies that I ever watched, and I'm sincere to you guys. You know that when there is something wrong, I am telling you honestly. And even the Japanese audience was happy, because at the end of the movie I heard so many people saying, kite yokatta, sugoku subarashi, tanoshikatta. I mean, there were lots of positive comments even while we were going out of our room. So that's why I'm saying that was the first time. Maybe because there are lots of nostalgic fans of Slam Dunk, or maybe because they were surprised about the result of this movie. They were surprised to see the end of the manga, or maybe because they were surprised that for the first time they were focusing on someone else, something unexpected. Okay guys, thank you so much for the support. Thank you to join me in this long video of thoughts. And please, when this movie will be available in your country, go to the cinema and watch it and have fun with the Shohoku team. Thank you so much, guys, and keep subscribing to the channel for more thoughts videos like these coming soon, and see you in the next video.